Hi there, it's Amanda. I was going to sound all energetic for a minute, but anyway, so in this video, what we're going to do is have a flip through my current composition notebook that I'm using as an art journal. And I wanted to share it with you because and I'll talk to you about this and we'll go through some of the pages. Now, it isn't nearly packed enough. There's still lots of art to be done in this, but it's always a good idea to be able to see where it started from and how it's progressing. And I've got loads of pages that haven't that have been prepped, but we'll talk about those as well. So this is what I've done so far. I hadn't for the longest done a cover on the composition journal, and I wanted to do, you know, some sort of painterly effect. So what I did with this is I had these just realized where I'd put the paint, more paint, it hadn't okay, let's talk about this. So I had these numbers that I had I was going to be using them in cards and children's cards because they were like individual numbers, and then what I'm going through all my supplies and things that I've made up in the past, and so, you know, even things like this, jigsaw puzzles, and we've got one on the back here, and just to really use them up on the card. Why are you waiting for this special time when you use your supplies? So this, all my journals, I normally use like my craft paints, the folk art paints and things like that. So if you're interested to know what paints I've been using, it's the folk art. And this is just a gold rubber, and I've had this for years, and you only need a little bit and you put it on your finger, or some people, you might be allergic to it. So you could, you know, use a glove or you could use a brush, but that's what I normally do, and it makes a really nice added effect on. I'll just see if you can kind of catch the gold. You see it? It does make like a really nice difference. Anyway, so what I've done is I've got the numbers, they're wooden numbers, and if I had put them on with, and which I did, I put them on with a glue gun, hot glue gun, and stuck them on. But what you would find if you just left it like that, over time they would lift up, you know, because you're using it and everything and handling it and what have you. So what I then did was apply just a layer of tissue paper. So it doesn't matter what the colour tissue paper, because I've changed the colour anyway, but this was the colour. So over each number I laid the tissue paper and added glue, allowed it to dry, and I've used the paints I've used on here are the folk art paints, and then I had this, I've only got two of them. I've got these Martha Stewart Crafts, it's a multi-surface satin acrylic paint. But you know, when you're adding acrylic paint, I mean, like all of these folk art ones, it kind of leaves a layer, like a plasticky layer. So and you can see that if you add it to, like, this is a plastic, it was a plastic lid for something, so I use this as a palette sometimes, and as you can see, this is all the craft paint that I've used over time. Ooh. And you can peel it off, and actually you can use this. I know one of the artists here does a lot of that, uses a lot of the paint that she's ripped off and uses it for dimensions. But actually that's quite pretty, so I think I will do that. And now I've still got a clean palette. So this is just recycled. It was from one of those Sculpty, you mix the two parts together and you can make molds, silicone molds. Anyway, so that's that, but I've got a nice clean one now with the paint ripped off. So layered it with my favourite paint, or a paint. I'm trying to use up a series of paints, so you might have seen that video. Layered it with paint, and then I've used a stencil. I've used 2 stencils so far. Now I'm also trying to get through all of my stencils. I've got loads of them, and I've got some that have been sitting around for years, and it's just like you want to use them. So all I've been doing, here is one, and it's from a lid. It's from one of these. It's called like Damp Rid, and you could get them in London in the pound store. I'm not sure whether the dollar store here does them, but you might be able to get it from dollar stores. I'm just seeing, so the paint has dried kind of like a matte, with a matte finish, but that's not what I want on the art journal. So I've used 2 stencils. After it's all dried, I painted it twice. I've used 2 stencils, so this one in spots, so you can see it over the numbers, the jigsaw puzzle, and then I've gone in again with this in random placings, and I've used different colours. So on here you'll see orange, blue, and then a metallic kind of purple colour. So that's what I've done on the front and on the back, and the numbers will stay. Oh, the other thing that I did was I had covered this in scrap bits of card, so we've got additional texture on, let's see whether you'll see it, on this side it's flowers. I had all these flowers and then this has got card texture, and I had put glitter on them, but they were just small bits of card. And then when I initially thought, I thought to myself, okay, well, these are going to pull up, and let's just cover it with the tissue, add in the numbers first, and then here we go. So let's have a quick flip through to where we are so far. This is definitely a great way to, you know, do a creative activity. The book costs under $5, and look at the supplies you've got already. I think these, me showing you journals each week, is really to encourage you to recycle, reuse. Don't allow your supplies to go hard, and so, you know, it's a waste of money. You brought it and you've just left it in a drawer or in a cupboard or on a shelf. So let's just go through it and you'll see what I've done. So on the inside page, again, I've just painted it. I've used another set of stencils. As I say, I want to get to use all my stencils, see what they're like. Some of them, I do have some stencils that I haven't used. I mean, this is probably the second time I've used it in about 10 years. I just didn't use it. I've got a whole folder. Can you see the folder? We can do the folder another time, but I'll just show you. I've got 2 folders, one with really big stencils, and then the others, this one with the smaller stencils. So if you can imagine, all of these, they're, you know, some are just sitting, some are still in packets that have not been used, some are ones you can't even see, can you? Look at that. So some are, so they're all just sitting in here. So I'd spent a little while last week trying to gather all the smaller stencils, and so we can go through that another time. But using up stencils, using up paint, that is my mission, to create some really interesting backgrounds using what I have, because I'm itching to, I've seen some new paints and I'd love to get them, but it's just like, especially for my journal, I mean, I still have lots of supplies, so it's just like, well, can you really justify, and what was coming to my head was, do I need to justify what I'm buying? But it's about money. It's like, I've experienced paint going hard. So this is another journal page I've done, and I think I did a video, and this is from a magazine. So I cut out an image from a magazine and then I repurposed it. So I created this young lady. Got this page here. Again, using elements of things that I've had for a long time. I did loads of butterflies, and this was where when not only stamping but covering everything with glitter. And so I've got loads of them, so it's just like, why are they here? Words, glitterized, is that a word? And then brads. I had brought I don't think this wasn't the case they came in, but this is what I then eventually put them in. But as you can see, a whole load of different brads, and I've had this at least 15 years just sitting in a drawer. And it's just like, why don't you use them? You know, use them up, and then if you want to buy more, then you can. There have been some suppliers that I just thought, do you know what, I don't think I'm going to want to use this anymore. So once I'm finished, I might not necessarily buy them. But yeah, you know, the using the brads and using words that I've printed off, washi tape. Okay, this page I had done with flower dye, flower pigment, and it's a blue flower called Clitoria tenatia, and I don't normally use inks in this way, the flower inks that I've been creating, but I thought, let me try. And then this was another page that I did, but then I wanted to combine it with ordinary, I think I've used, what have I used? What paints did I use? Some just water soluble wax crayons, and then I've done some stitching around the edge. This is a piece of card that wasn't connected, but I wanted to connect to them. And I talk about the Clitoria tenatia flowers. I wasn't sure, not sure how I really want to use this composition notebook, but just seeing how we go. And so I've done some on, I'll be talking more about this and the process for creating on fabric with this plant pigment, but just to say that I wanted to see how using it as a die and creating an image, and again a bit more stitching and some buttons. Again, the buttons are just ones that I've had around, so let us continue. Again, just creating. This is an image that I'd done from before and just wanted to use it up. Again, the butterfly, handmade paper, not handmade paper, it is handmade paper, but I didn't make it. And this scripture from 1 Corinthians, love is patient, love is kind. So still playing with supplies, just covering up this using paint. Seeing, I was trying to experiment with the thickness of the paper and what I could do, and I've just collaged it first and then created on top. Here again, these pages are not finished, and this is a, stay there for a minute, let me show you. It's these, I brought these, it's like kids paper shapes, and again they've been sitting here and it's just like, what are you going to do with it? And so I stuck it to this page and thought, okay, let me see if I can create ladies out of them. You could do what you want, really. They've done what they want there. So yeah, I thought that would be interesting in here. This one hasn't got, but what I did with this was, it was a magazine, and I've just really got the way that the woman was tilting her head, and then there was a hat from a different image. And again, this one hasn't yet been finished, but I started using some stencils to just again experiment. I haven't used these stencils in work, and so I've used a stencil. It's a tree stencil with birds in it, and then I've used the I've used several stencils. I've used the recycle one with circles, and even the grid one. I've used that in places. So when you're, you know, if you're creating an image, you don't have to just use, like if I was using the, you know, like I've used the grid in places, like in here. So here. And then I've used this round one. I used this one first and just did it in the spaces where there was nothing behind it, and then on top of that I've gone in with the bird and used different colours. So you can use different colours, you can use different stencils at the same time, again to create some interesting imagery. And I haven't yet finished this one, so I've still got to finish. But what I've done is I'm adding bits as I go along. So I had some words I printed out from before. I had just printed them on paper, done it on my computer, loads of different words, and printed them out. And I've cut a piece out here. And I even didn't see this. You've got a little flower on her skirt here. Okay, so this next page, again, we can see I've used the butterfly and just created this page. I recently added this. It's handmade paper. It's like very light, and I printed on it, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open. I've got this page that I'm yet to do something with, and I've just added washi tape along the edge. Some of it's coming up, but I'm not worried about that, because what I'll probably come in and do is go in and maybe add some recycled paper. So here's some ones that I did just by laying colour stencils, just playing and using up a lot of paint. And I had a selection of paint. I had about 8 different paints to choose from, and more words. And again, I'll probably come in and do images on these, but I love the way these look. And again, just experimenting with the thickness of the paper. So what I did for these is, again, is that my password? Add a layer of tissue paper before, sorry, it wasn't tissue paper, it was filter paper, coffee filter paper. You can get 150 in the dollar store, and I was using these to mop up some of the inks that I was making from the plants, and they gave it a really nice texture. They gave the paper a really nice texture, and now it's got a thickness that, you know, maybe you could get that if you stuck 2 together, but because you've got that, you know, because it's layers, it's yeah, I really like it. And this one, again, using up paint, mark making, finding things to create marks, and allowing, you know, the colours to play with one another on the surface, not being afraid to come back and then add some other things. Because this is a typical page that I would come back in and maybe do some, you know, dots and marks and things like that. And you can add to it, but we're not going to do that now. Here's another one. This particular pattern is from a greetings card. It was a Mother's Day greetings card, and this was on the front. And so when I took it off, it had been a cutout of card, and I thought, that's a beautiful stencil, and so that's what I've done. And then I've added areas on here, darker areas, so that again, if I want to come in with my white pen I can create marks and shapes, additional marks and shapes and symbols, or I'm not really, well, I was going to say I'm not really a flower person, but I can do flowers. I don't normally do flowers, but having that space, it means, yeah, you can do anything you want, or I could add some words and writing. So I'm giving myself options. I've got this page. These actually saying deepest sympathy. At one point I was making greetings cards, and I had all these, and they had the stickers at the back. So I thought, well, actually put them in. You can put them in here. You can add paint, and change the whole page. I've got a video of this I just recently posted, and because I didn't layer it with anything, the paper's still quite thin. Again, it's a composition notebook, so if you don't add anything over it, when you're adding paint, if you're not careful, it will the paper will disintegrate, or the pages will stick together, and that's what happened to this one. It stuck together, and I had this big kind of gap in the middle. But I'm going to go back in with paint and add some more stenciling onto this, and that's it so far. I'm just, again, I'll be prepping some more pages. I've put masking tape down the middle of a few just to get me going, and yeah, I've done about 4 or 5 pages, and then on the back I've also, where I'd added the tissue paper, I allowed it to overlap at the back, and then I just decided to add paint to this page, and it's very vibrant. I love it. So that's it. This is my composition notebook, and it's nearly fulfilling. It's got a way to go, but I wanted it to be a chunky book, and adding like collage material, you will achieve that. And I just like this. I think it's B5. It's not A5. It's, yeah, B5 in terms of the sizing. And the other thing that I really love is the way that, because I've used tissue paper on it, and it's not, like straight and flat, you've got so much texture. Oh well, let's go closer. Yeah, so much texture going on that it looks really good. I really like it. So I hope that's inspired you to get out your composition notebook and do some stuff to it and play around and just see where it takes you. And don't be afraid to experiment. I mean, it doesn't have to be on show for anybody. It could just be for yourself. So just play. Don't throw anything away, because everything could have its use, even if you decide you want to use it as a background. And that's what I do a lot of the time. If something isn't quite what I think or what I want it to be, I'll use it as a background. I never throw anything away, said the hoarder. No, the collector. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for now. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you've not yet, and click the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload a new video. So take care, and you will see me working in this as well as others. But check out the other video, which I'll put up there. Yeah, I'll put up there, and it will link to me doing this page. You see me doing this page. Okay, take care for now.